Sanibonani. Namuhla sitawuqhubeka kanjalo ngekubukela umthetho-sekelo. Today we're going to look into chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a bit longer, so I might not finish all of la kukhulunywa ngako. Kushuthi nje today nje chapter 3 speaks about the protection and promotion of fundamental rights and freedoms. So in a nutshell, it says that the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individuals, or the human rights and freedoms of the individuals, are enshrined in this chapter. So Gulo chapter 3, and is hereby declared and guaranteed, namely respect to life, or respect for life, liberty, rights to fair hearing, equality before the law, and equal protection of the law. B. Freedoms of conscience, of expression, and of peaceful assembly and association, and of movement. C. Protection of the privacy of the home and other property rights of the individual. D. Protection from deprivation of property without compensation. E. Protection from inhumane or degrading treatment, slavery and forced labor, arbitrary search and entry. And F. Respect for rights of the family, women, children, workers, and persons with disabilities. And number 2, it says the fundamental rights and freedoms enshrined in this chapter shall be respected and upheld by the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, and other organs or agencies of government, and where applicable to them, all by all natural and legal persons in Eswatini, and shall be enforceable by the courts as provided in this constitution. 3. A person of whatever gender, race, place of origin, political opinion, color, religion, creed, age, or disability shall be entitled to the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual contained in this chapter, but subject, I like that, but subject to the rights and freedoms of others and for the public interest. As much as, as much, I like that statement, as much as the executive, the human in general, has a duty of care to uphold emalungelo ebantfu and make sure ukuthi emalungelo ebantfu are catered for and ayahlonipheka. We as individuals as well, we have that duty that we don't infringe other people's rights, So as much as emalungelo ethu, as ilungelo lami as an individual has to be upheld, I have to make sure ukuthi mine utilizing ilungelo lami, I don't infringe lilungelo lalomunye umuntu. So there needs to be a balance, and angeke ukuthi bese lilungelo lami selihlukubeta save as well. We'll start with the protection of right to life. I tried to just kind of like summarize it, so I'll just go with my summary for the benefit of time. So with the protection to life, what I gathered is that there is no death penalty in Swaziland. So a death penalty is not mandatory in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And people shall not be deprived of life despite their crimes. Just because I've committed a heinous crime, I will make an example of our serial killer, even though he committed such crime, angeke athi soyagula bese kuthiwa no, angeke alashwe yena ngoba wasonsa bamfu. Even though he has committed these crimes, he has a right to life, and that life has to be respected, and his rights are protected by law. So that person cannot be deprived impilo just because of his crimes. Life in prison, if somebody is been sentenced to life in prison, that shouldn't be less than 25 years. So whosoever is got a life sentence, they cannot then serve less than 25 years So they will have to serve at least 25 years before they're eligible for parole. So they can then be reviewed and see if they can be granted maybe kuthathalelwa. That we'll look into that later on. But anyway, it says they have to serve at least 25 years behind bars. The use of force is allowed. However, it has to be reasonably justified and proportionate. So if force, when used, it has to be proportionate and it has to be justifiable. So if mina ufika uthi wena utongibulala, let's say uphethe isikhali, therefore I can use this sami ukubulala in self-defense. But angeke uthi ude kutoweba inkhukhu kami bese ngikhokha sibhamu ngiyakubulala. That would be not proportionate to the level of a crime. Le force le ngidabe sengiyayisebenzisa mina will not be proportionate. But ngingakusasatela ngetinja bese ngifike ngiyakubamba nguneta amaphoyisa emango. Le tinja noma ngingakuluma, at least it will be proportionate. I'm trying to explain that. I'm not sure whether I'm doing it any justice, but that's what it means. So you can use force to defend a person from violence or to defend property. So it just shows, I know these days people, they think kulahlekelwa impahla is nothing, impahla is as important as impilo. You can use force to effect an lawful arrest and prevent an escape of those that have been lawfully detained. So ungayisebenzisa force mangabe you have to detain people, or if bamfu bazama kufohla, so you can use force to stop them, from ukuthi babaleke. For the purpose of suppressing a riot, insurrection, or mutiny. So force has to be used. You can use that. Like as we have seen, unfortunately lives were lost, but at the end of the day, police or the forces, or I would say the security forces, were within their legal right to use force. Proportionalities are for debate. That's the thing, that it can be justifiable based on the individual who was faced with whatever threat, So if the police, let's say, we already had been told, and the civil was told, would say, go petitioner and kuyo lokhoza kuyo marcha, it's illegal and it was banned, but people then bamemetela ukuthi they come what may, and already there were rumors of people saying ukuthi they have guns, illegal guns and firearms that they are going to use against forces. Forces are going there not knowing, is it true? First of all, people are having those weapons that they can be used against them. So as a human being in Jane, let's place it that way, because these people working in the forces are human beings like me and you. As a human being, if umakhelwane asete wena sitawulala ibonene, ngifuna ukukushaya ngelitulo, or ngifuna wena ngulandzele tilimato vele nje ngifuna ukukubulala. When udibana namakhelwane, you won't wait kubona ukuthi makhelwane uyakushaya ngelitulo. You want to kill makhelwane before makhelwane akubulala. And these are the things that we have to be careful about, what words and what language we use. Because if utosongela umumfu, angeke ati ukuthi umane uyasho noma you are actually capable of. Ngoba we only know ema capabilities ebamfu when sebatshengisa bulwane. But then the problem is, nyalo angeke usema ukuthi uyatikisini ngifuna lo mumfu atshengise lo bulwane ukuze ngiconnect ivikele. Once umumfu says word, let us not forget that there is power in words. What you say will come back sometimes to haunt you. Ukuthi mangabe uthi umumfu wena utamekisa back to the maker, before their time. Vele mabadibana nawe, all they think is fight or flight, and that's a natural response. So we have to be careful in that aspect. Anyway, I'm not here to preach. Let us continue. to prevent commission by that person of a serious criminal offense. So force can be used to prevent abuqala. So if nje emaphoyisa abona ukuthi ekutheni la kugangeka kakhulu, ayasebenzisa i-force to prevent bucala. Sichubeke with another lokhuzaneni, with another point. Point lenye it's abortion. It's unlawful Eswatini, except there are circumstances where abortion is allowed, even as Eswatini. However, it's only allowed when there is a medical or therapeutic grounds. So you will need dokotela for this. You know, there will be a healthcare professional. Chaza will say definitely your life as a magelote fele will be in danger if you proceed with the pregnancy, or the life of the unborn child is severely defective. Therefore, they won't have a good quality of life, even if they live with their disability. Actually, they will suffer greatly. So their quality of life is not justifiable medically. Therefore, they will allow ukuthi lo make lo ayandele decision yokuthi angasikhokha leso sisu, so they can go ahead with that abortion. But then again, it's not forced, but that option is available. Also, you can have an abortion if that pregnancy is a result of rape, incest, unlawful sexual intercourse, or especially with a mentally retarded person or somebody with a learning disability. That's what we call here in the UK, or intellectually disability, which is usually the international terminology. So those people, the reason is because their IQ is so low, it will be difficult or it will be impossible for them to give consent to have this sexual intercourse. So they cannot be because they need to have this fully informed in order to consent to this act of making a baby or being pregnant, or even not even in making a baby, of having this sexual intercourse. Therefore, if it is found that this person with an intellectual disability or mental retardation is pregnant, therefore their guardian or people that looking after them can apply to get a permission to terminate that pregnancy. But as far as I know, because I know I know there are few incidents of children that have been about drop school and mates. I don't know fully the whole story around that, and I know those children have been born from Bamfo with learning disabilities. So we need to be careful. Just because the person has a learning disability, it does not mean they cannot be mothers. They can be mothers, and some of them, they become awesome and really wonderful mothers. Who do not have even a diagnosis, a mental health or a learning disability. So that cannot be, a definite. Just because you have a mental health or you have a learning disability, you are not suitable to be a mother. No, it's on individual basis. Those assessments are done on individual basis, and they are done in the best interest of the mother and of the child, of the unborn child. Also, a parliament can decide. So if, for instance, maybe dokotela wakho akasiva sizapho sakho and they don't feel like you have a right, you can ask your MP to lobby it in parliament, and then the parliamentarians can decide, is it justifiable? Is there a reason for you to have an abortion? So I will leave it at that. I think this is the part that I spoke about, is the respect to life, and then I will follow it up with another one that will be looking at personal liberties. I just thought I will make them as short as I can. So my 15 minutes for now is done. So we're looking at a right to life. The next one will be a personal liberty. All right. Thank you.